Well, hello and welcome again to the Skillwork Forum. As always, my name's Tim. I'm joined with my partner, Brett, and today we have a special guest with us in studio, Mr. Jake Williams, who's been with us before. So he's a returning guest. I guess we didn't beat him up bad enough last time, so appreciate you coming back, Jake. Jake was with CED, now with Rinsenhaus, same company, different name. I'll let him talk about that just a minute and a few minutes here to explain that transition. Still very much on the leading edge of technology and AI and automation, robotics, especially in manufacturing. Jake's an expert in this, and we're unpacking the annual Rockwell State of Smart Manufacturing report. The first part of this, we kind of looked at, hey, what are some of the obstacles that companies are trying to overcome through automation technology? Today, with Jake's help, we're going to say, what are the trends? Where's this thing going? Where is it leading? So, Jake, thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit about, for those that didn't get to meet you the first time, your background. And so what about the CED to Rinsenhaus thing for those that are wondering?
Yeah, so you said this is my second time back. I love coming to this because I think this is the only time I ever get referred to as the expert. Within my company, we have a ton of smart people, and I'm probably not high up on that totem. So CED, now Rinsenhaus, we're a manufacturing technology company. We've worked for 60-something years, putting a flag in the ground and serving local manufacturers, technology, services, consulting, training. And so where we live is get to know the manufacturer, how they make money, what do they do, what do they make, figure all that out first, and then help them pivot to the things that are going to help improve their business.
And right now, a lot of that is gearing more and more towards automation, robotics. Now we're going to get into AI and even generative AI, which is just, taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
So this is a really part and parcel, and the exponential growth of technology and manufacturing is just insane. I think it's the leading sector across all businesses in the adaptation of technology, the pace of adaptation of technology. So really excited to kind of get into this
for
a
sure.
little bit.
So welcome, Jake.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
We didn't know there were smarter people over there. So Christian will make note.
Yeah, maybe we should get the smart guy next time.
We think you're pretty smart.
Jake is humble. He is smart. He knows his stuff.
Last time, when we unpacked, we continue to talk about kind of these emerging technologies, and one of the big obstacles is obviously this skills gap and the labor shortage, and it's a lot of what's driving the automation side and type of thing. Now the 800-pound elephant in the room is this AI and kind of the race to capitalize on that. So what are you seeing? I mean, obviously the automation, I understand the automation side, where they're going to utilize AI and how that's going to play. Maybe spend a minute on that.
Yeah, so I think the major push for AI is you look at manufacturing, you break it down to what is it? It's resources and it's capabilities. So whatever you make, you have to have the raw materials, right? You have to have the supplies it takes to make whatever product you're putting out, and then you have to have the actual capabilities to take that raw material and make your end product. We have survived and even thrived in some cases in the U.S. for a long time, kind of working a little bit harder, squeezing a little bit more, and saying we're going to keep making this. What AI is going to do for us is lead to a material change where the capabilities to run a plant doesn't exist just based on tribal knowledge and experience and 30 years here, and we saw it in its first rendition, and we'll keep working at it a little bit harder. This AI is going to streamline all of the knowledge we've gained in production as long as the plants existed and help us multiply that production going forward. And what I mean by that is we're going to see efficiency be improved because the modeling can help predict what is the optimum production environment to create whatever we're creating. We're going to see support and content and documentation that a plant needs. I mean, you guys probably know better than anyone, when you send a skill worker to a plant, there's a huge variability of maybe they show up and the plant's like, yeah, we've got all the documentations, we know what everything is, we've got everything. Or you could show up to the manufacturing plants that's like, we haven't seen a drawing on that machine in 30 years.
That's usually the case.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think one of the ways, there's a lot of people playing with AI right now, and we're seeing language models where someone can sit down in front of a computer and say, I'm working on this machine, and it will feed it back documentation, drawings, specifications, maintenance schedules. And that's like low hanging fruit, right? That's not going to be the thing that transcends their production, but that's like a first realization of, oh my gosh, this is valuable. And so we're starting to see that, but long-term, AI is going to help us encapsulate all that tribal knowledge, all the experience, and it's going to start fielding better progressions for us in manufacturing. I always draw parallels back to football, and how I envision it is you can have a really good coach calling really good plays, but it always relies on the coach to call the play. We're going to get to a spot where if you take the football parallel, you line the team up, and AI tells you, here's the play call. This guy's a little tired. The defense is doing this. And all of a sudden it's spitting out, here's your optimum play call for what's going forward. And I think that's what we're starting to see in manufacturing. It's at a really low level right now, but that's where it's headed, where I've got this entity, this asset that is a plant made up of all of these machines and all these inputs. It's going to start to help us direct, here's the optimum layout. Here's the optimum environment. Here's the way data has to flow. Here's the things that you need to be aware of. And it's just going to run, and it'll be our responsibility to maintain and to optimize it as it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. You've mentioned a couple of times their tribal knowledge going out the door, which is in our world, that's all your 30-year experience guys leaving that inherently knew how everything worked and how to optimize, and they just had that. And the baby boomer generation is leaving by droves and not being replaced. And those that are coming in, they've grown up with technology, so they're very comfortable with it. B, they don't have the experience and the ability to gain that, because oftentimes the person that had the experience is already out the door. Many of them left during COVID. That just accelerated that. So the replacement of tribal knowledge with essentially a coach that's there with you that can help you anticipate what to do and learn. So for those that are listening to this, that really, okay, I understand AI because maybe I played around with ChatGPT. So how's that going to help in a manufacturing environment? When I'm producing widgets that are going through machinery and so forth. Can you give us an example of where that's been used? Yeah.
So maybe a good baseline example, and this is kind of low end. This is, I would say, optimizing a machine or optimizing a process. But you can think of, if you walk into a manufacturer and they make some type of small tool or device, there's inspection tables everywhere. And so you get this big bulky facility, and then you get this area where there's tables with bright lights and someone is physically looking over a product to make sure, does it meet our standards? Does it match what we put out the door? Are there any imperfections? Even there, we're starting to see vision systems where the camera is recognizing, does this meet our standards? No longer do we need to pull finished product off of the plant production lines and have it stall where we're inspecting it. Can we have a camera scan that device as it goes down the production line and verify that means it meets our quality levels and doesn't have imperfections? And so really baseline example that we weren't doing previously, that's expediting that process.
Yeah, and taking that further, AI would even say, there's a better way to produce this. There's a more optimal way to produce this that gets the end result. And it's interesting, Brett, I think it was at the Rockwell show, and they were talking about the ability right now. A big part of the skilled trades guys that we put in the field are, programmable control logic technicians or even programmers, and the ability in the future is going to be where somebody like me or Brett can walk up to a machine and say, hey, I want you to reconfigure from this to that, and just speak it.
Yeah.
And then have you heard anything like that?
Yeah. So we're seeing that right now. We've played around with the coding, right? You talk about messing with ChatGPT. I think when those language models first came out, all of our tech guys were sitting there going, I wonder what type of code it could write for me. And this was like day one language models, and it's starting to pump out like, oh, this is pretty good. This is getting me, it may be not getting me 100% of the way there, but it's getting me 60% of the way there. One of the areas we've seen quite a bit, and this is maybe 5-6 years going on even at this point, is robotics. Robotics was was the next rendition of automation, right? First level of automation was inputs and ones and zeros, and like, how do we get this thing to turn on when we tell it to? The second rendition was robotics, and putting in a robot and having it do some task that was manual and heavy and repetitive was good, but the programming for robots was exceptionally more difficult than programming a controller. We've got robots now. I saw one a few months ago in a plant where they've got a robot that's moving a 1,500-pound load, and to program it, they shut down, they put it in learning mode, and someone walks in and drags the robot to what it needs to do, turns it back on, and the robot writes its own code to say, okay, this is what it just showed me my movement needs to look like, writes the code, puts it in the system, they press start, and the robot's moving. And so now you don't have a guy needing to go through school and practical training and bug fixing and corrections. The guy needs to know how to drag the head of the robot and the arm to where it needs to go, and you're set.
Wow. Pretty wild.
It is. So, we talk about it, a lot, and obviously, my background coming out of manufacturing was quite familiar with the challenges of, I always used to say, we used to automate because it was kind of fun, cool, and sexy to do it, and then didn't necessarily always have an ROI, because we could find the people. But now that as you experience every day, these plants, they really don't have any choice but to automate, and then the additional piece of AI that to me sounds like kind of takes all this data and information and now makes it more useful and more predictive even so. But in all of that, obviously the reality is some jobs are going to increase, some jobs are going to decrease. With this continued push towards automation and AI to for a variety of reasons, drive more efficiency and so forth. But where do you think we're going to see the biggest increases and decreases in jobs and employment and those kinds of things?
Yeah, I think I probably used this phrasing last time I was on, but bar none, manufacturing is and should be the biggest sandbox for high-tech jobs in the United States. There is nowhere better to deploy technology than in a manufacturing facility. I think that is the future of high-tech jobs, is we build things here and we need technical people to make those things happen. And then certainly from a recruiting standpoint, you guys know it, the technical capabilities, the tools you get, running towards AI as opposed to running away from it, running towards automation instead of running away from it. That's what makes those jobs attractive. There's manufacturers that have existed for a long time, and if they're dark and dingy and the jobs stink, it's hard to recruit someone there, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, how would you like to work many times harder in a facility that's really dark and you're going to go home hurting? Or you could walk into this plant and you could get tools and you're going to feel like you have a chance to optimize it right away. I think the next generation, right? We're all programming things with our phones. We're using Alexa, we're using Siri, we're using smart components. And so it would be hard for me to imagine that the next generation of manufacturing workers are going to want to walk into a facility where they hand them a clipboard or they're doing things manually. We're going to have the expectation to use technology. And so I think the more jobs are going to be those that are based around improvements in the facility and are based around using that tech.
Yeah.
Is the skilled labor shortage hurting your company's bottom line? Skillwork is the premier staffing agency focusing exclusively on skilled labor. Our team of highly skilled workers augments your existing teams for elevated impact and decreased downtime. Partnering with hundreds of facilities in more than 30 states, we deploy our traveling industrial technicians to work for you on a contract basis. Our philosophy is simple: to honor God in all we do, bring respect back to the skilled trades, and positively impact those around us. For more information on how Skillwork can deliver the top labor talent you need, visit skillwork.com or call us at 402-447-7058. Call us today to see how Skillwork can work for you.
And kind of staying on that vein, when we look at just trends in general for staffing and employees and, from your company to ours to those we serve, a big push is, hey, we want more worker flexibility. We want flexible schedules. We want all of those things that people learned to embrace during COVID. And we're like, yeah, that doesn't work for us in manufacturing. Do you think that, but I think we're going to have to, right? Because that's what the workforce coming up is kind of demanding. So do you see AI or technology, and I can't imagine it, but maybe you've thought about it. How does this help a manufacturing facility go like, yeah, we can do remote or flexible work instead of the old 3 shifts, 8 hours a day, you got to be here?
Yeah, so I think a great example is some of those things are already happening. I mean, in the olden days, if you had a machine shut down, first of all, someone would have to be in front of the machine to know it shut down. And then to identify what happened, you'd have to walk out to the machine. Some of the plants we walk into are huge facilities, right? If you got to walk 3 acres to the other side of the building to go see the machine, that takes time. We've got plants now that have a centralized control room where everything's on a computer and on screens. There doesn't have to be a person sitting in front of the machine. If it's running and doesn't need an operator there moving something or operating something, you can do everything remote. Machine will tell you when it turned off, why it turned off. You can start to make decisions before you spend the time walking to the other side of the facility. So with that trend already happening, I think you're just boosting that, right? So remote working, maybe the opportunity to fix the robot from home or the machine from home, and probably won't ever be the case. But the ability to remote monitor from wherever you are, right? Doesn't mean you have to be on the plant floor to get the alert that the machine turned off and a decision has to be made. Probably not.
Well, if you think about it, they're doing now very micro surgeries with surgeons that are on, completely different location that are, like you talked about with the robot, they're doing the surgical instruments here connected to probes or monitors, and then a robotic arm with the scalpel at the other end. So that could potentially be, the future for manufacturing, perhaps.
Yeah, we've seen, similar to that example, we've seen headsets, and we've provided them where people go into a facility and maybe it's not, maybe you have someone new to the site and they're not super familiar with a specific piece of equipment, but they put a headset on and you're connecting to both augmented reality as well as possibly another worker that has more experience, and they have that camera up and they're showing you what to do. They're interacting with the screen. They're drawing and saying, okay, come over here and check this, press that, clear that. That's happening now, and I think that's only going to go greater as we get that AI engine built into what we're doing and data. That headset is going to provide you much more realistic information, much more beneficial information right away.
Yeah,
that's good. Well, that's cool. I mean, it's like I said, we started looking more geeking out than anything, years ago at that reality of being able to train and different variety of things. I mean, way back seems like 100 years ago now when I owned the manufacturing company. I mean, even then, we could remote technicians in, and the technology is so much further advanced.
Yeah.
Now, it's like, if you need somebody to work on your computer, somebody, next thing you know, somebody takes over your screen.
Yeah, and then you see your mouse moving around and going, okay, that's a little...
Yeah. So all of that. So, but kind of with all of this, Jake, with the advancement, the automation, like you just said, it's going to be, probably the biggest sandbox, for technology. Who knows what's going to happen with coding and those kind of things. So those people maybe with that similar lean towards skill may move more into this new environment, like you said, that's a lot different than the dark and dungy, one that maybe they have in their mind. But with that, obviously, we're very pro, upskilling. We do a lot with our skill workers. We provide upskilling opportunities. We send them to training and so forth. And so kind of what are you seeing in that and maybe specifically to Rinsenhaus now? I mean, what are you seeing in that? And are you guys getting involved in the training side to get the workforce ready for where we're at and going? Yeah.
It's I think that's something every manufacturer has began to unpack. You almost need two solutions. You need a long-term solution, right? You need to figure out where's your pipeline for long-term staffing, right? Is it the college? Is it a program? and how do you get them to match the technology that you're going to need in the future, right? The skill sets you're going to need. But you also have the short-term challenge, right? As you begin to integrate new equipment, new technology, AI, automation, you still have to have the people that can run the machines that are there now, but you need people that can integrate the new technology as well. And so I think what has to happen in manufacturing is developing both those pipelines at the same time with the same intent for both of them. Right? Yeah. There's going to have to be the long-term solution on how do you keep people coming into your facility, but immediately as you integrate new technology, you can't expect we're going to take this person that's been here for 20 years and just tell them here's a new thing, go do it. Right? You've got to invest in upskilling. You've got to train them. You've got to educate them. You have to influx new talent as well. And so, like, you guys know this experience. Sometimes your people can be impactful when they get to a site because they have expertise in that area. It doesn't mean that they're more valuable or less valuable than another role at the building, but they come with a different expertise that they can offer. And I think those things have to happen more.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, if you're not doing that, then you're definitely not going to thrive, and you may not survive.
Yeah.
So you know, on the AI thing again, I've been kind of thinking more about this lately, so that's why I'm on this train. But you know, I'm just getting my head around AI, and now people are talking about, well, now it's generative AI.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what's that? And I've picked that a little bit, but from your perspective, what is the difference between AI, generative AI, and is that kind of the trend, or is it, you know, you can use both, or what is it? Is it a evolution of AI? What exactly is it?
Yeah, so I think we see two terms. There's generative AI and casual AI. I think it's easier to go backwards. So casual AI is cause and effect. It's like what you would see in predictive maintenance right now. So it would be this machine breaks or this thing keeps happening. Is it because of the temperature? Is it because of the material? Is it because something we're using or doing in manufacturing is causing this to happen? That could be the AI model picking up and saying, when you use this material, it breaks the machine. Let's invent a way to not use this material, right? Or it could be when the plant reaches this temperature, the machine has an error. Let's find a way to navigate away from that. Generative AI is like what you think of when you think of like ChatGPT or the big language models. It's new, right? It's taking all these inputs and creating something. And so that's an unending world. I don't know that there's a great way to explain what is it, but if you think of the word generative, it's creating, right? I think we're going to see generative AI help manufacturers make new products, make different variations of products, right? If you've got a plant that's making the same thing and your AI model can pick up and say, well, you're making these things, you can also make this, or you can make it a little different. I think that's the trend we're going to see within a facility.
So it's actually learning as it goes forward. And that is like some of the AI tools that we can interact with, like ChatGPT. It's a little scary. And you know, my understanding is now Apple, everybody who has an iPhone, that's going to now be pushed ChatGPT partnership. So your iPhone is they were giving examples like, it learns your habits, like you talk to your dad once a week. It'll be saying, hey, it's Sunday. This is a recommended text to send to your dad.
Yeah.
Or you haven't been to the gym in 2 weeks. You should probably go. Or take this way to get there. I mean, it's actually gonna be like a life coach.
Yeah.
Except, well, I don't know. It's a brave new world. So, do you see any? My last question is: do you see any threats? You know, because there are people that are afraid of AI, that see it's going to be the end of the world. People are going to lose jobs. Is there any realistic threats to manufacturing?
So, a couple things. I think the same fear of AI is like what people envision with robotics, right? The easy, scary monster in the closet is like, well, if we put robotics in, that means we're getting rid of our people. We found out right away during COVID, it wasn't the necessity to get rid of people. It was the fact we couldn't get more people into our facility. For a plant to exist, for them to be competitive, for them to make a product that people would want to buy here as opposed to anywhere else in the world, you have to be competitive. It has to start with the business case. Once you have that, I think AI and all of the technologies, automation is only going to exemplify what we can do well and make it better. The threats, though, are probably more on like the IP side right now. I think many companies are posturing of like, we're really scared to put our information into these models until we understand really who the backers are,
Who's got access to it?
Yeah, what data is shared, because I think the impossible thing for people to understand right now is if you put data in, can you ever take it out? And so I think that's where the fear is. That's where all of the challenges are. Certainly there's increasing security threat. I mean, we've talked before about cybersecurity in the industry. As you go to use more technology, everything's going to be networked. That puts more and more connectivity between your plant and potentially anything else. And so that's going to grow. I think right now the major fear with AI is less of a people threat, and it's more of a data and integrity threat.
Okay. Good. Anything to wrap up, Brett? Or?
We're kind of talking in broad sense of this Rockwell report. You kind of already said it, and so I'm probably more of a comment than a question, but and that is just this reality, which you said it is this talent and the in that report it said leadership's biggest concern with the adoption of an acceptance of this technology is going to be having the talent to support it. And so having those strategies, whether it's upskilling, whether it's using a company like what we do to help you find that talent. I think obviously I don't want to sound too much like a commercial, but I think that's the reality. The report kind of suggested that.
Yeah,
that
you need all of it.
Yeah, we're going to need it all.
Absolutely need all of it.
Yep. Yeah, we call it the three-legged stool all the time. You need to continue to look to find your own people. You need to upskill, and in the meantime, we can bring the talent to you where you need it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts in general from the Rockwell report, state of manufacturing, or on whole, are you bullish, positive to where manufacturing is going in America? And here, your focus is in the Midwest. What are your takeaways? What is your sense out there?
Yeah, I think overall we've got a bunch of really good people. I mean, one of the benefits to my role is I get to walk into plants every day and work alongside people that are trying to make their facility the best within their own company and within the world. And I think there's no reason not to be bullish on the things we can make here. I think there's certainly challenges. Talk about like the Midwest. We've got a people shortage greater than anywhere else in the country, where you might recruit within a certain area or range of your facility, and once you get that tapped out, there's nowhere else to turn. And so I think that's only going to help us lean more into technology, and technology is what's going to help us as manufacturers make this thing better going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's really where we kind of come in as a partner with your company and others like yours, is that to enable the advancement of technology, you may need some higher skilled people that you may not be able to find locally.
Yeah.
And maybe we can help you with that. We're looking to always, be a partner and a help. We're not there to sell something you don't need, and I think you guys are about that as well.
Yeah.
So Jake from Rinsenhaus, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being a friend of the company. Good guy and a fellow brother and our faith. So we appreciate that as well. And we appreciate all you guys for joining us, tuning into Skillwork Forum. Our hope and our goal here is that this is valuable. This is something that can help you individually, your company, to just get a little better, a little smarter. And we hope we've done that today at Skillwork. Our main focus, we get up every day thinking about how to put great quality, highly skilled craftsmen into facilities that are trying to move the ball forward. That's what we do every day. If we can help you do that, reach out to us. If you need a great partner that can come in and help you assess where you are, where your company is, how to get better, how to embrace some of this technology, I can think of no better source than Jake and his colleagues at Rinsenhaus and CED at large. So appreciate you being with us, Jake, and appreciate you joining us on the Skillwork Forum. If you like this, if you like our content, go to where you can download a Joy podcast, like us, subscribe. It helps us a lot, and give us feedback. Let us know how we're doing or any topics you might think would benefit you or your company moving forward. Until next time, God bless.
This is Brett Elliott, CEO and co-founder at Skillwork. Prior to starting Skillwork, I spent over 30 years in the food manufacturing space. From literally starting out cleaning the restrooms to becoming the maintenance manager, then the plant manager, to eventually becoming the president and owner, I've seen the manufacturing world from many perspectives. And like many of you, I've seen firsthand the growing need for higher skilled workers, while at the same time experiencing the shortage of this skilled talent. I started Skillwork to address that need. I knew the headhunter and the local temp agency models were not the solution. If you're experiencing the same shortage of talent at your facility, we would love to connect you with our team. Give us a call at 402-447-7058 or visit us online at skillwork.com.